hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. But when it comes to Neanderthal women, that might be an understatement. Surviving in a frozen, unforgiving world demanded unmatched strength and resilience. And Neanderthal women had both in abundance. In fact, they may have been stronger than the average modern human male. But just how powerful were they, and how do they compare to us today? Join us as we uncover the incredible strength of these ancient women. Before we begin, it is essential to understand that in the harsh environment of the Pleistocene epoch, survival was a daily struggle against relentless elements and formidable predators. From the freezing weather to huge and terrifying animals, everything seemed based on the survival of the fittest. Yet, the Neanderthal women emerged as iconic figures of their time, embodying a remarkable blend of raw strength and adaptive resilience. So much so that today, their robust anatomy not only reveals a life of ceaseless physical exertion, but also provides us with a cinematic glimpse into a time when sheer strength was the key to survival. But what made them so strong? Well, Neanderthal women had strong, sturdy bodies that had adapted well to the harsh conditions of the Pleistocene epoch. And perhaps the best place to start is with their muscle mass and bone density. According to studies, fossil records show that Neanderthals, including the women, had a much greater muscle mass and higher bone density compared to modern humans. Their bones were thicker and denser, which indicates that they had led lives that required a lot of physical activity. For example, studies have noted that bone mass in hunter-gatherer societies, similar in lifestyle to Neanderthals, was about 20% higher than that found in later agricultural populations. Although it seemed awkward, this increase in bone density is directly linked to the physical demands of their daily routines. Notably, it wasn't just the density of their bones that was higher. The attachment points on their bones were also very pronounced. If you're wondering how that helps, these points are where muscles are connected, and their strong, clear marks suggest that the muscles were well developed, especially in the upper body. In fact, when we compare the bones of Neanderthals with those of modern humans, some distinct differences that show how weak we are in comparison to them become clear. For one, Neanderthal women had broader shoulders and a wider rib cage, which provided a strong framework for the upper body. Their robust upper body structure likely helped them perform tasks that require a lot of upper body strength, such as hunting large animals or using heavy tools. The strong build of the clavicle, aka collarbones, and the scapulae, aka shoulder blades, further supports this idea, as these bones provided a solid base for powerful arm movements. Interestingly, the structure of their limbs was also very different from modern humans. Like the men, Neanderthal women had shorter and thicker limb bones, particularly in the legs. Now, this sounds like a disadvantage, but in actuality, it is not. This build is associated with a stocky body type, which would have helped them conserve heat in cold climates, a useful adaptation in the often frigid environments they inhabited. But that's not all. This kind of build also indicates that they were built more for short bursts of strength and power rather than long-distance endurance. Essentially, the shorter, sturdier limbs allowed them to generate quick, forceful movements when needed. That aside, another interesting aspect of Neanderthal anatomy is the influence of genetics. While early modern humans migrated and interacted with Neanderthals, interbreeding occurred, leaving traces of Neanderthal DNA in modern human genomes. Although the specific genes that controlled muscle development have not been fully identified, it is clear that the overall robust structure of Neanderthals contributed to their physical strength. These genetic traits likely helped them develop the dense bones and strong muscles that were essential for their survival. In simple terms, Neanderthal women were exceptionally strong and well built for their environment. Their bones were denser and thicker, with clear signs of powerful muscles attached to them. Their broader shoulders and larger rib cages provided the necessary structure for vigorous upper body activities, while their short, thick limbs were perfectly adapted for strength and cold weather. Combined with genetic factors that favored a robust physique, these anatomical features enabled Neanderthal women to perform the physically demanding tasks required for survival in a challenging Ice Age world. But here's the question: what exactly were those tasks? Putting it simply, Neanderthal women led lives that required constant physical effort. Every day, they engaged in a variety of tasks that demanded strength, endurance, and skill. But how do we know this? After all, we weren't there. Well, by studying their skeletal remains and the tools they used, we can understand how their daily activities shaped their strong bodies. According to research, one of the major parts of a Neanderthal woman's day was food processing. They spent a lot of time preparing food, which involved many labor-intensive activities. For example, they had to grind nuts and seeds by hand, butcher animals to extract meat, and even break bones to get the nutritious marrow inside. All of these activities required considerable upper body strength and repeated physical effort. In fact, it is thought that the repeated strain from these tasks likely helped develop and maintain the thick, dense bones that scientists have found in Neanderthal remains. But that wasn't all, because in addition to processing food, Neanderthal women were also responsible for transforming animal hides into useful materials. This process included scraping off the fat and flesh from the skins, stretching them to make them soft and workable, and then sewing or tying them together to create garments or shelter coverings. Each of these steps demanded not only careful manual dexterity, but also a good deal of arm and hand strength. The work was physically taxing, and it contributed to the overall muscular development observed in their bodies. Another important daily activity was the manufacture and maintenance of tools. Yes, the women also made the tools. In contradiction to popular belief, Neanderthal women participated in making tools by knapping stones such as flint to produce sharp edges for cutting or scraping. This task required precision and repeated bouts of physical effort, which would have helped to further strengthen their arms and shoulders. Essentially, regular tool-making not only ensured that they had the necessary implements for survival, but also reinforced the physical demands of their daily lives. Now to take things up a notch. It might shock you, but there is actual evidence that suggests Neanderthal women were involved in hunting activities as well. Let me explain. Long thought to be a male-only activity, the notion of women not hunting was thrown out of the window when scientists examined the bones of Neanderthals. With further examination, however, they found similar injury patterns in both male and female remains. This suggests that women, like their male counterparts, face the risks associated with hunting large animals. Some female skeletons have been found alongside hunting tools in burial sites, hinting that they were recognized as skilled participants in these dangerous tasks. They were the European version of the Amazonians we never got to meet. The ones that showed us that both genders contributed to the survival of their community. Now, speaking of hunting, Neanderthals developed a variety of tools and weapons that required significant physical force to use effectively. One example is the use of wooden spears, such as the Schöningen, spears that could be around 7 feet long. Using these spears for thrusting or throwing required strong and coordinated upper body movements. In addition, the production and use of stone tools, like hand axes, scrapers, and spears from the Mousterian tool tradition, demanded precise strikes and considerable energy. What I'm saying is the strength needed to both create and use these tools regularly contributed to the well-developed muscles in the arms and shoulders of Neanderthal women. Now that you know how strong the ancient women were, we now have to ask, since Neanderthal women did the same job as males, did Neanderthal women experience the same physical wear and tear as their male counterparts? Much like the males, Neanderthal women led lives that were both physically demanding and challenging, so much so that their daily activities often led to injuries, and the evidence found in their bones gives us a clear picture of how they coped with such stresses. Today, studies of Neanderthal skeletal remains show that they suffered from various injuries, ranging from small cracks to more serious fractures and trauma. To make things even more exciting, many of the bones display signs of healed fractures, indicating that even after sustaining serious injuries, these women managed to recover. This healing process suggests that Neanderthal communities likely provided care for injured individuals, helping them survive despite their wounds. Such care might have included shared food, protection from further harm, or even practical assistance in daily tasks while recovering. The fact that many injuries healed over time suggests that their bodies had a strong capacity for recovery and that the community played an important role in supporting their physical endurance. With that said, although the exact conditions differed greatly from today's world, research comparing modern hunter-gatherer groups with prehistoric populations like the Neanderthals offers useful insights into the insane dynamics of the world then. Modern hunter-gatherer women regularly perform tasks that require a high level of physical endurance, activities such as long-distance walking, carrying heavy loads, and working continuously throughout the day. Further studies have even indicated that the endurance levels of prehistoric women were high, as they needed to keep up with the rigorous demands of survival in harsh environments. As you would expect from the Ice Age, when scientists look at the skeletal remains of Neanderthals, they find that both women and men show signs of significant physical stress. Similar patterns of bone wear, muscle attachment development, and healed injuries were found in both genders. This suggests that the physical demands of their lifestyle were shared across the community and that both sexes contributed to tasks that required strength and endurance. For Neanderthal women, the wear and tear on their bodies indicates that they too faced challenging physical labor on a regular basis. In simple terms, Neanderthal women lived tough lives that left clear marks on their bones. This evidence not only illustrates the resilience of Neanderthal women, but also offers valuable insights into how early humans managed the balance between injury and recovery in a world where physical strength and endurance were essential for survival. Now, with that established, I guess the next question is, who would win between a modern man and a Neanderthal woman? Although they have long since died out, Neanderthal women had bodies built for strength. As we said before, their skeletal remains show that they were not only physically robust, but also well adapted to perform demanding tasks. So, if they're extinct, how do we make this comparison? Well, by examining their bones and comparing them with those of modern athletes, we can gain insights into how their bodies might have functioned. So, what did we find? When we look at modern athletes, we see that powerlifters rely on strong upper bodies to lift heavy weights, and rock climbers depend on firm, steady grips to hold on to challenging surfaces. In many ways, the physical build of Neanderthal women resembles these athletes. Their pronounced muscle attachment sites suggest that their muscles were built for repetitive, forceful actions, much like the training that powerlifters undergo. For instance, the strong grip seen in their hand bones could be compared to the type of grip strength required for rock climbing. However, it's important to understand that while there are similarities in the way that their bodies were built, Neanderthal women did not train with modern techniques, nor did they have the benefit of modern nutrition. So yes, the men in this scenario have an unfair advantage, but when you are against prehistoric powerhouses like this, we'll allow it. Unlike the men, the Neanderthal women's strength came purely from living in an environment that demanded constant, raw physical exertion. When we look into their performance in weightlifting and endurance activities, things get even more interesting. Given their bone and muscle structure, Neanderthal women were likely very suited for short bursts of high-intensity activity. Their bodies were designed to handle tasks that required a quick and powerful effort. If we compare this to modern weightlifting, a Neanderthal woman's musculature suggests that she might have been able to lift heavy objects or perform tasks that required sudden, explosive strength. On the other hand, this type of build is less ideal for endurance activities such as long-distance running or sustained aerobic exercise, which modern humans often excel in. Modern athletes who specialize in endurance events tend to have leaner, more efficient muscles that allow them to keep going over long periods. In contrast, the robust, bulkier muscles of Neanderthal women were built more for power than for prolonged activity. To simplify everything, while Neanderthal women may have outperformed modern humans in tasks requiring raw power, modern bodies have evolved to support endurance and efficiency over longer periods. But make no mistake, all this means is that in a fight, the modern man's best choice is to run far and for a long time. So where did this strength go? If some people have Neanderthal DNA in them, does that mean they have super strength? To answer this, we will start from the top. It's true that modern human genomes carry a small but important legacy from our ancient cousins, the Neanderthals. That's because when early modern humans encountered and interbred with Neanderthals, they inherited roughly 1 to 2% of Neanderthal DNA. Although this might sound like a tiny fraction, these genetic contributions have influenced several physical traits and aspects of our physiology today. With that said, what populations have the highest Neanderthal DNA? Well, research shows that individuals of non-African descent typically have between 1 and 2% Neanderthal DNA. In particular, people of East Asian descent, for example, residents of Beijing with Han Chinese ancestry, tend to have around 1.4% Neanderthal DNA. Similarly, European populations display slightly lower percentages, with Finnish individuals at about 1.2% and those from Northern and Western Europe averaging around 1.17%. These variations point to different interbreeding events in various parts of the world and help explain subtle regional differences in some physical traits. So with that said, we can talk about the genetic traits affecting physical characteristics. Some of the traits passed down from Neanderthals are noticeable in modern human appearance. For instance, certain genes inherited from Neanderthals can influence skin and hair color, contributing to the variety we see today. While these traits are not directly linked to athletic performance or muscle development, they serve as a clear marker of our ancient genetic heritage. Neanderthal DNA also plays a role in shaping our immune systems. According to research, several Neanderthal-derived genes affect how our bodies respond to infections and pathogens. These genes may have once given early humans an advantage in fighting off diseases. However, in today's environment, some of these same genetic factors are associated with a higher risk of allergies and other immune-related conditions. Another area where Neanderthal genetics might have an impact is in our metabolism and how our bodies store fat. Some genetic variants inherited from Neanderthals are linked to differences in energy use and fat storage. These differences can influence body composition and energy balance, which may have indirect effects on our physical performance. Again, while these traits are not straightforward indicators of strength or endurance, they do add another layer to the complex picture of how our bodies function today. But that's enough beating around the bush. What are the potential links to athletic performance? Well, at the moment, some studies suggest that these ancient genes could affect the composition of our muscle fibers. For example, they might influence the balance between fast-switch fibers, responsible for quick, explosive movements, and slow-switch fibers, which support endurance activities. However, it's important to remember that modern athletic performance is shaped by a mix of genetics, training, and lifestyle choices. The influence of Neanderthal DNA is just one piece of this complex puzzle, and researchers are still working to understand its full impact. What I'm trying to say is that even though Neanderthal DNA makes up only a small portion of our genome, its effects are wide-ranging, from influencing physical traits like skin and hair color to potentially affecting our immune response, metabolism, and even aspects of muscle function. These ancient genes continue to play a role in shaping who we are. Ongoing research aims to unravel exactly how these genetic contributions might affect modern human physiology and performance, offering fascinating insights into our evolutionary past and its lasting legacy on our bodies. But for now, you're just going to have to hit the gym. So what do you think? Were Neanderthal women the unsung powerhouses of the Ice Age, or was their strength just a natural adaptation to a brutal world? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you love deep dives into ancient mysteries and evolutionary marvels, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And if you think Neanderthal women were impressive, wait until you hear about the prehistoric beasts they had to face. Check out this video right here.